Introduction. In the heart of Castilla, a seemingly ordinary day turned into a whirlwind of chaos and controversy. On August 14, 2024, Sabina Yasmin, a dedicated student at Castilla Islamia College, found herself at the center of an explosive confrontation that would reverberate through the community and beyond. What began as a routine protest against administrative decisions quickly escalated into a shocking clash with law enforcement, one that no one could have anticipated. As Sabina stood among her fellow students, voicing their concerns over unjust policies, tensions simmered just beneath the surface. The air was thick with anticipation. Students were united in their cause, determined to make their voices heard. But little did they know that their peaceful demonstration would soon attract the attention of local police, who were dispatched to quell what they perceived as a threat. The police arrived in full force, equipped with riot gear and an overwhelming sense of authority. They had been briefed about the protest but were unaware of the determination and resilience of the students they were about to confront. As officers moved in to disperse the crowd, Sabina stood her ground, embodying the spirit of her peers. She was not just fighting for her rights, she was standing up for justice and accountability in a system that often overlooked the voices of young people. In that moment, as tensions escalated and shouts filled the air, Sabina became more than just a student. She transformed into a symbol of resistance against oppression. The police, believing they were confronting an unruly mob, failed to recognize the strength and unity of those gathered before them. What followed was a clash that would not only challenge their authority but also reveal deep-seated issues within the community regarding police conduct and civil rights. As we delve deeper into this story, we will explore how this incident unfolded, the aftermath it created, and its lasting impact on both Sabina's life and the broader societal landscape. Join us as we uncover the truth behind police attack, but they didn't know who they were challenging. This introduction sets up your story by establishing context and intrigue while highlighting key characters and themes. Let me know if you need further assistance or additional segments. Background context. To fully grasp the significance of the confrontation on August 14, 2024, we must first understand the backdrop against which this drama unfolded. Castilla Islamia College, a prestigious institution known for its academic rigor and vibrant student life, had recently become a hotbed of discontent among its student body. The administration's decisions regarding tuition hikes and restrictions on student activities had ignited a firestorm of protests. The students, feeling marginalized and unheard, began organizing rallies to voice their grievances. Sabina Yasmin was not just another face in the crowd, she was a passionate advocate for her peers. Known for her eloquence and unwavering commitment to social justice, Sabina had emerged as a leader within the student community. Her ability to articulate their concerns made her a beacon of hope for many who felt powerless in the face of administrative indifference. As tensions rose, Sabina took it upon herself to rally her fellow students, urging them to stand together against what they viewed as unjust policies. The protest on August 14 was intended to be peaceful, a demonstration aimed at drawing attention to their plight and demanding dialogue with college officials. However, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation, as students prepared to confront an administration that had repeatedly dismissed their concerns. They carried banners and shouted slogans, united in their call for change. But unbeknownst to them, the local police were already monitoring their actions closely. The police presence at protests was not uncommon in Castilla. Over the years, there had been numerous instances where law enforcement intervened in student demonstrations, often escalating tensions rather than diffusing them. This history of confrontations had left many students wary of police intentions. They were aware that their right to protest could quickly be overshadowed by a heavy-handed response from authorities. On that fateful day, as students gathered outside the college gates, emotions ran high. Sabina took center stage, passionately addressing her peers about the importance of standing firm in their beliefs. She spoke about the need for accountability from both the college administration and law enforcement. Her words resonated deeply with those present. They were not merely fighting for themselves but for future generations of students who would walk through those same gates. As the protests began to gain momentum, news of the gathering reached local law enforcement. Misinterpretations of their intentions led police officials to believe that this demonstration could spiral out of control. In response, they mobilized a significant number of officers equipped with riot gear and ready for confrontation, underestimating the resolve and unity of the student body. The atmosphere shifted dramatically when police arrived at the scene. Instead of engaging in dialogue or seeking to understand the students' grievances, they quickly moved to disperse the crowd. Their approach was aggressive. Officers shouted orders while brandishing batons and shields, The sight was alarming, a stark contrast to the peaceful scene just moments before. Sabina stood at the forefront, her heart racing as she witnessed her fellow students being pushed back by officers. She knew that this was not just an attack on their protest, it was an assault on their voices and rights as citizens. In that moment, she realized that she had a choice. She could retreat in fear or stand firm against what she believed was an injustice. With courage surging through her veins, Sabina stepped forward, raising her hands in an attempt to communicate with the police. "We are not here to fight. We just want our voices heard," she shouted above the chaos. But her words fell on deaf ears as tensions escalated further. As chaos erupted around her, students shouting in anger and fear while officers shouted commands, Sabina felt a surge of determination. This was no longer just about tuition hikes or administrative policies, it was about standing up against oppression and demanding respect for their rights as students. The clash that followed would become emblematic of broader issues facing society: police overreach, youth activism, and the struggle for justice in an often indifferent system. As we continue our story, we will delve into the details of this confrontation, the events that unfolded during those harrowing moments, and how they would change lives forever. This segment provides essential context for understanding why Sabina Yasmin's protest escalated into a confrontation with police. It highlights her role as a leader and sets up the tension that leads into the next part of your story. Let me know if you need any further assistance. The incident. As the sun hung high in the sky on that fateful day, casting a warm glow over Kustia Islamia College, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Students gathered in increasing numbers, their voices rising in unison as they chanted slogans demanding justice and accountability. Sabina Yasmin stood at the forefront, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. She knew that today was pivotal, not just for her but for every student who felt unheard and marginalized. As the protest began to gain momentum, word spread quickly through social media and local networks. Students from nearby colleges joined in solidarity, bolstering their numbers. The rally transformed into a vibrant display of youth activism, with colorful banners waving in the air, each one emblazoned with powerful messages about education, rights, and justice. The energy was palpable. It felt as though they were on the brink of something significant. However, this sense of unity and purpose was soon overshadowed by an ominous presence. A convoy of police vehicles rolled into view, sirens blaring and lights flashing. The sight sent a ripple of anxiety through the crowd. Many students had witnessed previous protests turn violent when police intervened, and memories of those clashes flooded their minds. Sabina felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she watched officers disembark from their vehicles, clad in riot gear and exuding an air of authority. The police had come prepared for confrontation. Their commanding officer quickly assessed the situation and issued orders to form a line, creating a barrier between the students and the college entrance. "Disperse immediately," he shouted, his voice booming over the chants of protesters. "This demonstration is illegal." Sabina stepped forward once more, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We are not here to cause trouble. We just want to be heard," she pleaded, hoping to reach some understanding with the officers. But her words were met with indifference. The police were already on high alert, perceiving any resistance as a threat. As tensions escalated, students began to push back against the police line. The atmosphere shifted dramatically from one of peaceful protest to one charged with fear and anger. Sabina could see her peers growing agitated. Some were shouting back at the officers, while others were recording the confrontation on their phones. It was a moment that would be captured forever, a clash between authority and youthful defiance. Suddenly, without warning, an officer lunged forward toward Sabina. The move was swift and unexpected. He grabbed her arm tightly, attempting to pull her away from the crowd. "You need to leave," he barked, his grip firm and unyielding. In that instant, everything changed. Sabina felt a surge of adrenaline as she fought against his hold. "Let me go. I'm not doing anything wrong," she exclaimed, her voice rising above the din. Her struggle did not go unnoticed. The sight of their leader being manhandled ignited a fire within the crowd. Students surged forward in protest, shouting for justice and demanding that Sabina be released. The police response was immediate. They began pushing back against the throng of students with forceful shoves and raised batons. In an instant, chaos erupted as students attempted to shield Sabina from being taken away. The once peaceful protest evolved into a melee. Yelling filled the air as both sides clashed violently. Sabina's heart raced as she witnessed friends being pushed aside by officers wielding batons. She could hear cries of pain and fear mingling with shouts for resistance. As officers began using physical force to disperse the crowd, Sabina felt a mix of anger and desperation surge through her veins. She couldn't let this happen, not to herself or to her fellow students who were standing up for their rights. With every ounce of strength she had left, she shouted back at the officers, "We have a right to protest. You can't silence us." But her words fell on deaf ears as tensions reached a boiling point. In an attempt to regain control over the situation, police deployed pepper spray into the crowd, a tactic designed to disperse protesters, but which only served to escalate panic among students. The acrid scent filled the air as many began coughing and covering their eyes in distress. Sabina stumbled back as she felt the sting of pepper spray hit her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she gasped for breath amidst the chaos surrounding her. Yet even through the pain, she remained resolute. She would not back down without a fight. In that moment of turmoil, something extraordinary happened. Amidst all chaos emerged acts of solidarity among students. Those who could see through the haze rushed to help their peers who were struggling with effects of pepper spray or were injured during scuffles with police officers. They formed human chains, trying desperately to protect one another from further harm. The scene was both heartbreaking and inspiring, a testament to resilience in times of adversity. Students banded together. Despite their fear, they were determined not only to stand up for themselves but also for each other. As officers continued their aggressive tactics, shouting orders while attempting to push students back, their actions drew attention from bystanders who had gathered nearby. Witnesses began recording videos on their phones. Social media platforms buzzed with live updates about what was unfolding before them. The incident quickly gained traction online. Hashtags began trending almost immediately as people shared footage showing both sides of this escalating conflict: police brutality versus student activism. What had started as an organized rally for change had transformed into a battleground where ideals clashed violently against authority figures who refused to listen or engage constructively. In those harrowing moments when it seemed like all hope might be lost, when fear threatened to overshadow courage, Sabina found herself surrounded by fellow students determined not just to fight back but also demand accountability from those sworn to protect them. The clash lasted for what felt like hours. Emotions ran high on both sides as tensions escalated further still, until finally local community leaders intervened in an attempt to de-escalate matters before anyone else got hurt. As night fell over Kustia that day, the echoes of chants still ringing through empty streets, one thing became clear: this incident would leave an indelible mark, not only on Sabina's life but also reshape conversations around student rights across Bangladesh. The aftermath would reveal deeper truths about systemic issues within law enforcement practices while galvanizing young people everywhere into action against injustices faced daily by marginalized communities across society. As we move forward in our story, we will explore what happened next, how Sabina coped after this traumatic experience, how it impacted those around her, and ultimately how it sparked broader movements advocating for change beyond just Kustia Islamia College itself. This segment captures the intensity and chaos of the incident, while highlighting Sabina's bravery and leadership amidst turmoil. It sets up for exploring the aftermath and reactions in subsequent sections of your video. Let me know if you need any further assistance or additional segments. Aftermath and reactions. As the dust began to settle on that chaotic day, the reality of what had transpired started to sink in. The confrontation between Sabina Yasmin and the police had not only left physical scars on those involved but also emotional wounds that would take time to heal. For many students, the events of August 14, 2024, marked a turning point, a moment when they realized the power of their voices and the lengths they would go to defend their rights. In the immediate aftermath, Sabina found herself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. The adrenaline that had fueled her courage during the protests quickly gave way to fear and uncertainty. She had witnessed her friends being hurt, and she could still feel the sting of pepper spray in her eyes. Yet amid this turmoil, one thought resonated deeply within her: they had stood up for something meaningful, something worth fighting for. News of the incident spread rapidly through social media, igniting outrage not only among students but also among citizens across Bangladesh. Videos capturing the clash went viral, showing police officers using excessive force against unarmed students demanding justice. The public's response was swift. Hashtags like "Justice for Sabina" and "Stand with Students" began trending on various platforms, uniting voices from all corners of the country. Support poured in from various organizations advocating for human rights and student welfare. Activists rallied outside Kustia Islamia College, holding vigils in honor of those who had suffered during the protest. Signs reading "We are all Sabina" became symbols of solidarity, emphasizing that this was not just about one individual but about a collective struggle against oppression. The college administration faced mounting pressure to address the situation transparently. Students organized sit-ins and peaceful protests demanding accountability from both the college officials and law enforcement agencies. They called for an independent investigation into the police's actions during the protest, insisting that those responsible for any misconduct be held accountable. In response to growing public outcry, local authorities announced an investigation into the incident. However, many students remained skeptical about whether genuine accountability would be achieved. Past experiences had taught them that promises often fell flat when it came to holding powerful institutions accountable for their actions. Amidst this backdrop of activism and advocacy, Sabina became a focal point in media coverage surrounding the incident. Interviews with her appeared in newspapers and on television channels, where she recounted her experience with a mix of vulnerability and strength. She spoke passionately about her commitment to justice and her determination to ensure that such violence against students would not be tolerated. While Sabina's bravery inspired many, it also placed her under scrutiny. Some critics questioned whether her actions had incited violence, or if she should have taken a more conciliatory approach with law enforcement. This backlash was disheartening for Sabina. She had merely sought to express her beliefs peacefully. Yet, she understood that standing up for justice often comes with its own set of challenges. As weeks turned into months following the incident, Sabina found herself at the center of a broader movement advocating for student rights throughout Bangladesh. She collaborated with various organizations focused on reforming police practices and improving communication between law enforcement and educational institutions. Her voice resonated not only within Kustia but also across campuses nationwide as students began to unite around shared experiences of injustice. The incident sparked discussions about police brutality and civil rights among young people who previously felt disconnected from political discourse. Universities across Bangladesh saw an increase in student-led initiatives aimed at promoting awareness about their rights and encouraging civic engagement. Sabina's story became a catalyst for change, a reminder that even in moments of despair, hope could emerge through collective action. However, not everything was smooth sailing. The pressure mounted on Sabina as she navigated her newfound role as an activist leader. She faced anxiety over potential reprisals from authorities and struggled with feelings of isolation as some friends distanced themselves due to fear or disapproval of her outspoken stance. Yet through it all, she found solace in connecting with other activists who shared similar struggles. As public discourse around police accountability continued to evolve, Sabina remained steadfast in her mission to advocate for change within educational institutions and law enforcement agencies alike. She organized workshops aimed at educating students about their rights during protests and how to engage peacefully yet effectively with authorities. The ripple effects of that day extended far beyond Kustia Islamia College. They reached communities across Bangladesh where young people began to recognize their power as agents of change. The movement ignited by Sabina's courage fostered a sense of unity among students who previously felt powerless against systemic injustices. As we reflect on this chapter in our story, one marked by resilience amidst adversity, it becomes clear that while individual incidents may fade from memory over time, their impact can resonate long after they occur. The fight for justice is often fraught with challenges, however. It is through moments like these that societies can begin to confront uncomfortable truths about power dynamics and strive toward meaningful reform. In our next segment, we will explore how legal proceedings unfolded following this incident, what steps were taken by authorities regarding accountability measures, and how Sabina Yasmin's journey continued as she sought justice, not only for herself but also for countless others who dared to dream of a fairer world. This segment captures the immediate aftermath of the incident while highlighting public reactions and Sabina's evolving role as an activist leader. It sets up anticipation for exploring legal proceedings and ongoing advocacy efforts in subsequent parts of your video. Let me know if you need further assistance or additional segments. Legal proceedings. In the wake of the confrontation on August 14, 2024, the call for accountability echoed loudly throughout Kustia and beyond. The public outcry surrounding the incident prompted local authorities to initiate an investigation into the actions of the police during the protest. However, as many students and activists feared, the path to justice was fraught with obstacles. The investigation began with a series of hearings where witnesses including students, faculty members, and bystanders were called to testify about their experiences during the protest. Sabina Yasmin, now a prominent figure in the movement for student rights, found herself at the center of these proceedings. She bravely recounted her experience, detailing not only her own struggle but also highlighting the collective trauma endured by her peers. Despite her courage, Sabina was acutely aware of the challenges ahead. Many students expressed skepticism about whether genuine accountability would be achieved. Past instances of police misconduct had often resulted in little more than empty promises from officials. This time, however, there was a palpable sense of determination among students and activists alike. They were resolved to push for real change. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that there were significant discrepancies between police reports and eyewitness accounts. The police had initially claimed that they acted in self-defense against an unruly mob, but video evidence contradicted this narrative. Footage from smartphones captured moments of excessive force used against peaceful protesters, images that would later circulate widely on social media and in news outlets. In a surprising turn of events, community leaders and human rights organizations began to rally around Sabina's cause. They organized campaigns demanding transparency in the investigation and urging authorities to take responsibility for any wrongdoing. Public demonstrations continued to grow, with citizens from various walks of life joining in solidarity with the students. As pressure mounted on law enforcement agencies to act decisively, some officers faced disciplinary actions for their roles in the incident. While this was a step forward, many activists felt it was not enough. They called for comprehensive reforms within police departments to prevent future incidents of brutality and ensure that citizens could exercise their right to protest without fear. Sabina's journey through these legal proceedings became emblematic of a larger struggle for justice in Bangladesh, a fight against systemic issues that had long been ignored. She emerged not only as a voice for her peers but also as a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. Her commitment to seeking justice inspired countless others to join her cause. As we conclude this segment, it is evident that while legal proceedings can be slow and arduous, they represent an essential step toward accountability and reform. Sabina Yasmin's story continues to unfold as she navigates this complex landscape, determined not just to seek justice for herself but also to pave the way for future generations who dare to stand up against injustice. In our next segment, we will explore how Sabina's activism evolved beyond Kustia Islamia College and how her experiences influenced broader movements advocating for change across Bangladesh. This segment provides a concise overview of the legal proceedings following the incident, while emphasizing Sabina's role as an activist leader. It sets up anticipation for exploring her ongoing activism and its impact on broader movements in subsequent parts of your video. Let me know if you need any further assistance or additional segments. Conclusion. The events surrounding Sabina Yasmin and the confrontation with police on August 14, 2024, serve as a powerful reminder of the strength found in unity and the enduring fight for justice. What began as a protest against administrative policies at Kustia Islamia College transformed into a significant movement that resonated across Bangladesh. Sabina, once an ordinary student, emerged as a symbol of resilience and courage in the face of oppression. As she continued her activism, Sabina became increasingly involved in broader initiatives aimed at reforming police practices and advocating for student rights. Her experiences galvanized a generation of young people who recognized their power to affect change. Across campuses nationwide, students began organizing workshops, discussions, and protests, fostering an environment where dialogue about civil rights could flourish. The legal proceedings that followed the incident highlighted the importance of accountability and transparency within law enforcement. While challenges remained, the pressure exerted by activists and community leaders led to some positive changes in how authorities approached student protests. The narrative surrounding police interactions with civilians began to shift, emphasizing the need for respect and understanding rather than aggression. Sabina's story also sparked conversations about mental health and emotional well-being among activists. Many young people who participated in protests faced trauma from their experiences, prompting discussions about support systems and resources available for those engaged in social movements. This focus on holistic well-being became an integral part of the activism landscape, ensuring that those fighting for change could also care for themselves.